Jai Jagat, I am Rajagopal in Shashi, and Shashi is one of those organizations supporting a large movement called Ekta Parishad. Now for us, the philosophy is how do you build a peaceful society? And when we speak about non-violence and peace, we understand that violence can be physical and structural. And Shashi and Ekta Parishad and many other partner organizations were trying to address this issue of structural violence so that you end structural violence in order to create a peaceful society. And all our actions in the last 25-30 years were all related to how do you address this issue of structural violence and end of structural violence leading to a peaceful society. And when we speak about violence, we also speak about violence between people and violence with nature. So many years of struggle leading to ordinary people, indigenous people receiving land, and then using non-violent method to develop that land so that people can live in their community without poverty and suffering. And this was the philosophy around which we were working for quite some time, empowering the poor, using non-violent method to dialogue and struggle, then using non-violent method to constructive work that will lead to ultimately change people's life. We derived this philosophy from Mahatma Gandhi because Mahatma Gandhi early on said the problem is greed and need. In a society where there is so much of greed, wanting to accumulate and accumulate and accumulate, many people are left out without even being able to address their needs. So we relate with people who are struggling for their needs and try to solve their problem using non-violent method. We believe that society as it is today, all over the world, it's a very violent world because education is very violent, economy is very violent, administration is very violent. So at every level, people are facing violence. So when we say we want to create a non-violent society, it is not just people struggling non-violently. It is basically at every level, non-violence need to be applied. Application of non-violence at every level will ultimately lead to a situation where we will move from a culture of violence to a culture of non-violence. So we believe that educational system need to transform, and the people who undergo the kind of education that we receive today should know how to make this system more non-violent. How do we understand our application of our educational knowledge in the society without making violence? All the engineers, all the technologists, all the scientists put together, like Einstein said, have created a very violent world, and we need to rework in order to make the world non-violent. Same way, the economy is violent, so our people need to know how to use non-violent method to undo the violent economy and create a non-violent economic model. Administration or governance is completely violent, and so people suffer. Very ordinary people suffer because those who are supposed to govern are governing in a way that it is perpetuating more violence and suffering into the life of people. So a real understanding of transforming a violent world to a non-violent world order, transforming a culture of violence into a culture of non-violence will take time. So we are into training young people. This is where one can begin. We are not running schools and colleges, so we can't do much about it. But then we are into training young people from the villages and helping them to get out of poverty by using non-violent methods of struggle and dialogue. And our success was based on this. How do you train very ordinary young person to understand the value of non-violence, to understand the need for liberating himself or herself through their own efforts rather than depending on the state? And that was our method of working. And when we say Ekta Parishad has hundreds and thousands of people involved, these are all young people who went through this training process, understood a non-violent method to liberate themselves from poverty and suffering, and then use that non-violent method to develop the land or resources that they receive. So be more non-violent with nature. this has to expand. This process needs to expand into other areas as well. If struggles can be non-violent, why can't governance be non-violent? Why can't education be non-violent? The most difficult area is struggle, and if people can really understand the spirit of non-violence and non-violent struggle, education can be naturally non-violent. It will not take so much difficulty. Economy can be non-violent. It will not take so much effort. Governance can be non-violent. So I think the ultimate aim is to live in a society where we have peace and non-violence as a value. So our relationship, our understanding, our way of behavior, everything will be non-violent. How we speak can be non-violent. How we act can be non-violent. How we think can be non-violent. So we can really transform individuals, and the individuals put together society, and society put together this nation, nations put together the world. All this is possible through a process of understanding why we need to live in a non-violent society and not in a violent society. How relationships need to be more non-violent, not competitive and violent. How economy needs to be more non-violent and sharing rather than competitive and accumulating. This is a process, and I believe institutions like Shashi, institutions like Home for Humanity are together in order to achieve this goal of transforming this world from a very violent situation to a non-violent situation where people can live in peace, in harmony. And I hope the coming days, though there are obstacles, but then I believe that the coming days, working together, hundreds of us, many organizations, large networking, probably will help us to achieve that, and will dream to live in a society that will be non-violent, ultimately non-violent. Thank you very much.